The Walmart Man. Imagine being told you have no future in retail, and then building the world's largest retailer ever. Today, you are Sam Walton. Scene 1. The Farm Boy. Of course, you don't remember the day you were born. Nobody does. But you'll hear this story enough times to feel like you do. March 29, 1918, Kingfisher, Oklahoma. The outside world is arid, vast, and indifferent. Your father, Thomas Walton, is a farm mortgage lender, not a lender himself, but someone who shows up when farmers can't pay. You'll soon realize that money is fragile, that it can vanish like the topsoil of Oklahoma in a strong wind. Before we begin this journey, if you also enjoy discovering the secrets behind the success of extraordinary people, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's a simple action, but it helps this channel reach more people who are striving to achieve greater things in life, just like you. And now, imagine opening your eyes one morning and realizing that you are that person. The journey begins. The Great Depression doesn't come down like a storm you can foresee, it creeps in. First, a neighbor stops waving. Then, lunch at school, the rations are a little smaller. Then, your father comes home quieter than usual, hat in hand, eyes looking away. By the age of 12, you understand what most adults try to hide from children. The world owes you nothing, so you have to work. You milk the family's cows before sunrise. You bottle the milk. You brave the cold morning air to the neighbor's house. Your boots crunch on the icy ground. You can hear your breath. Perhaps you're 10, and this is your alarm clock. Not a bell, not a siren, but the sound of a cow needing to be milked and a family needing to be fed. Then comes the newspaper delivery. You fold each newspaper tightly. You learn which houses want the newspaper on the porch, which want it at the door. You know that Mrs. Henderson usually gives a 5-cent tip at Christmas, and Mr. Burke never tips, but always waves and says, "Good morning, son." And somehow, that seems enough. You're learning something without even realizing it. You're learning about people, how they think, what they want, what makes them feel cared for. By high school, you're delivering newspapers to more customers than anyone else in the neighborhood. Not because you're fast, but because you're persistent. You're always there. Every morning. Rain, cold, hot. You're still there. That will become the most important thing about you. Something people often overlook because it's not flashy, but it's what holds everything together. At 16, you're elected student council president. You're voted most versatile guy. You play quarterback on the football team, not because you're the biggest or strongest, but because you study defensive tactics. You see the gaps, you make the pitches. It's a mindset that will stay with you for life. You want to go to college. Your family doesn't have money, but a Walton wouldn't let that stop him. He earned his own money to attend the University of Missouri. He continued delivering newspapers. He worked as a waiter. He worked as a lifeguard. He counted every penny twice because losing even one penny mattered. He graduated in 1940 with a degree in economics, not because he loved the theory, but because he wanted to understand how money worked, where it went, why some people had money and most didn't. His first life lesson: hard work isn't a guarantee, but the lack of it is a guarantee of something worse. Scene 2. Failure. You get a job, a real job. J.C. Penney in Des Moines, Iowa. Management intern, $18 a week. You think you've struck gold. Every morning you put on your best shirt, adjust your tie in front of the mirror, and walk into the store like a man with a future. Your first problem is,
Good morning.
You can't write clearly.
Can I help you find something?
Your handwriting is a disaster, a jumble of circles and slashes your supervisor can't decipher. Your accounting books are even worse. The numbers are smudged, the columns don't match. By any management standard, you're a disaster. The manager calls you in. He looks at you the way one looks at damaged goods. Not exactly angry, just tired. He tells you, gently but clearly, that you're not suited for retail. Perhaps you should consider a different career, a different path, a career where you don't count goods. You have no future in retail, young man. You smile, because that's what you always do. You say, "Yes, sir," and nod, then walk out. And something very specific happens inside you. Not anger, not despair. Something quieter and more dangerous than either of those. A decision. You decide that this man is wrong. Not because you're arrogant, because you can sense it in the way you talk to customers, in the way they respond, in how a transaction isn't like a conversation. You can sense that you understand something about this business that the paperwork doesn't show. You're not bad at retail. You're bad at administration. Those are two different things. You'll need a few more years to fully understand that difference. But you feel it now, deep down, in 1940, standing in a J.C. Penney store in Iowa, while a man tells you to consider a different life. Then war breaks out. The attack on Pearl Harbor, December 1941. Everything changes for everyone. You enlist. You experience the war domestically, not in the Pacific Theater. A mild heart arrhythmia prevented you from fighting. You serve as an intelligence officer, overseeing security at aircraft factories and prisoner of war camps. You rise to the rank of captain. You learn about logistics. You learn how to transport people and supplies efficiently. You realize that systems are crucial, that the difference between chaos and order is often a simple process someone has thought through beforehand. You also fall in love. Helen Robson, intelligent, strong, practical. She has standards, and you meet them. You marry in 1943. Her father, L.S. Robson, is a successful businessman. He will lend you $20,000 to get started. You will pay it back, every penny. Second lesson, never let others define your limits. The person who tells you you can't is often just describing their own limitations. Scene 3, The Betting Game. 1945. The war is over. America is breathing a sigh of relief. Soldiers are going home. Bomb factories are switching to making toasters and washing machines. A new world is emerging. A consumer world. A suburban world. A world where people have a little money in their pockets and a deep desire to spend it on things that aren't rationed goods. You see this. You see it the way a hunter sees movement in the bush. A stillness suddenly comes alive with potential. You want to work in retail. You know you want to work in retail. J.C. Penney's men were wrong, and you will prove them wrong. You find a Ben Franklin franchise in Newport, Arkansas. The rent is $75 a month. The store is struggling. The previous owner gave up. But you see what they missed. Newport is a real town, with real people who need real things, and nobody was serving them properly. With $5,000 in savings and a $20,000 loan from Helen's father, you sign the lease and walk through that door as the owner for the first time. You stand in the middle of the empty store in silence, and you just breathe. 27 years old, your own store. This is it all. You get to work. And when I say work, I mean you do things that even Ben Franklin's head office would worry about. You buy goods at lower prices than the agreed-upon suppliers. Buy directly when possible, buy wholesale when not. You pass those savings on to customers. You undercut every competitor in the area.
Welcome in.
You stay
Good morning.
open longer.
Thanks.
You do the cleaning yourself. You personally greet customers at the door. The prevailing retail mindset in 1945 was increase prices by 40 to 50%. Keep profit margins comfortable. Sell less, earn more. You thought this was counterintuitive. Your idea was simple and bold. Sell more, earn more. Lower prices, higher sales volume. Let the customer win, and you win twice as much. It worked. In the first year, you achieved $105,000 in sales. By the third year, that was $250,000. You were the highest grossing Ben Franklin franchise in the area. You were invited to speak at meetings. Other franchisees wanted to know your secret. There was no secret, just an obsession, with pricing, with customers, and with being present. You have a shameful habit that your competitors find less endearing than your customers. You constantly sneak into other stores and take notes. Prices, layouts, what's on the shelves, what's not. Helen thinks it's a bit strange. You consider it research. It's all the same. Lesson 3. Customers are not the problem to manage. Customers are your reason for existence. Scene 4. Lost everything. 5 years. 5 good years. And then the lease expires. This is what you did wrong. Actually, the only thing, but it's crucial. When you signed the lease in 1945, you didn't include a renewal clause. You were 27, excited, and didn't think that far ahead.
Good morning, sir. Glad to see you
The
back.
landlord, P.K. Holmes,
Everything you
looked
need
at your
is right
sales,
inside. Come on in.
extraordinary, record-breaking sales, and he did a simple calculation. If this man can make $250,000 a year in this building, then this building is worth more than I'm paying him rent. He didn't renew your lease. He took back the store. He gave it to his son. Just like that, it was gone. You stand outside the store the day you hand over the keys, and you feel something you haven't felt much in your life. Helplessness. Everything you've built, the relationships, the system, the reputation, the loyal customers who keep coming back week after week, it's all in Newport. The building will take it all when you leave. The town gives you 90 days before bankruptcy. Some people are more generous and give you 120 days. Helen doesn't cry in front of you because Helen knows you need a solid support system right now. But you know she cried afterward. You know it because you find her in the kitchen in the middle of the night, just sitting there, and she looks at you with an expression that isn't reproachful. It's something heavier than reproach. It's faith. She still believes in you. That, in a way, is the biggest burden you've ever had to carry. You pack up your belongings with your family. Now you have 4 children. You drive to Bentonville, Arkansas. Population, 3,000. It's the kind of town people leave, not arrive in. You find a spot on the town square, a dilapidated building, $50 a month rent, with a lease that this time you have to make sure it has a renewal clause. You write that clause yourself. You read every line. You'll never make that mistake again. The Newport failure will haunt you and teach you a lesson for the rest of your life. Every decision you make about leases, real estate, ownership structures for decades is influenced by the day P.K. Holmes took your store. The 4th lesson, written in the hardest ink: read the contract. The entire contract, especially the parts that seem unimportant right now. Scene 5. The birth of Walmart. Bentonville, 1950. You name your store Walton's 5 and Dime. You start over, again. But this time, something is different. You've read, observed, thought. You've visited a store in Minnesota that's experimenting with a form of self-service. Customers pick up items themselves from open shelves instead of having an employee pick them up for them. Lower labor costs, faster shopping, higher sales. You visit. You stand in the store for 2 hours and watch people move around in it, and you think, this is the future. This is how things work. You install the self-service system at Walton's 5 and Dime. Costs go down, sales increase. By the mid-1950s, you have several stores throughout Arkansas and Missouri. You're still a Ben Franklin franchisee, but the franchise is starting to feel like a cage. Ben Franklin sets the prices for you, tells you what to stock. Their model is small store with moderate profit margins. And you keep coming back to your old, worn-out idea. What if we lower the prices even more? Not just a little lower, but drastically lower. What if we reduced costs for customers and compensated with increased volume? In 1962, you approach Ben Franklin executives with a proposal. Open discount stores in small towns. Forget the big cities. People are fighting over Chicago and Dallas. There are thousands of towns with populations between 5,000 and 25,000. Towns with no real retail competition. Towns where people currently drive an hour to shop. Offer those people a clean, well-stocked store with the lowest prices in the area, and they will come. They would drive past 2 other stores to get to yours if your store was cheaper. Ben Franklin said no. They didn't believe small towns could handle it. They thought discount retail belonged in cities where sales were guaranteed. You decided to do it yourself. You mortgaged your house. You found a partner. On July 2nd, 1962, the same year Kmart and Target opened their first stores, which you found incredibly exciting because competition proved the idea right. You opened the first Walmart store in Rogers, Arkansas. Walmart, your name on the door, your name on the sign. Honestly, that boldness still surprised you a little. The whole town flocked there, and they kept coming back. You priced competitively. You negotiated aggressively with every supplier, more aggressively than anyone in the industry deemed necessary or polite. You bought directly whenever possible, eliminating the middleman entirely. You open earlier and close later than your competitors. You hire local people, and you treat your employees, you call them partners, because that word is important. Because someone called a partner feels different from someone called a worker. You treat them as partners in something that belongs to all of you. Lesson 5. The gap in the market is almost always where others consider it unworthy of consideration. Scene 6. The Empire. By 1970, you had 32 stores and annual revenue of approximately $31 million. You took Walmart public. The company's IPO valuation was $16.5 million. Not a huge number by Wall Street standards, but it provided you with capital to grow without relying on banks. And you grew. You built distribution centers, massive, efficient centers that allowed you to move goods from suppliers to shelves faster than any competitor could match. You invested in technology before most retailers understood what technology meant to the retail industry. You installed satellite communications across your stores in the 1980s so that sales data was transmitted from every cash register in every location to Bentonville in real time. You catch the best-selling items in Tulsa before the end of the day. You adjust inventory. You eliminate waste. You're running a machine, and it gets faster every year. By 1985, Forbes magazine named you the richest person in America. You still drive the same old pickup truck you've driven for years. You still get your haircuts at the same barbershop. People find this endearing. You find it logical. Why spend money on unnecessary things? You launched Sam's Club in 1983, a membership-based warehouse model where business owners and ordinary people can buy bulk goods at affordable prices. It works the way everything you've built. Lower profit margins, massive volume, customers win, and you win too. By 1990, Walmart is the largest retailer in the United States. Over 1,500 stores, annual revenue exceeding $30 billion, over 300,000 employees. These numbers are so enormous that they no longer feel like mere figures, but a tremendous responsibility. You still visit the stores. You still wander the aisles. You still ask the salespeople what items sell well and what don't, what customers complain about, what they love. Some CEOs make decisions from the boardroom. You, however, make decisions from the store floor with a notebook and a poor quality pen, asking a 22-year-old warehouse worker what she thinks should be placed in aisle 7. Lesson 6. No success can stop you from listening to the people closest to your customers. Scene 7. Legacy. In 1992, President George H.W. Bush awarded you the Presidential Medal of Freedom. You were ill at the time with bone cancer. The disease was taking its toll, so you had time to think. You received the medal from your wheelchair, and you felt its weight. Not just the physical weight, but the meaning it represented. A farm boy from Oklahoma. A milk delivery boy before sunrise. A man a retail manager had once said had no future in the business. You thought about Newport, about the store you had lost. You didn't regret it in the way you might expect, because losing it had forced you to Bentonville, and Bentonville was the beginning of everything. The worst day of your life turned out to be the door you had to walk through to find the right room. You didn't know it then. You couldn't have known. But you still show up the next morning, and the morning after that. People ask you what the secret is. There are books written about it. Business schools teach it too. You find this quite funny because the answer isn't complicated at all. You take care of your customers. You respect your colleagues. You keep costs as low as possible. You're always humble enough to learn from anyone, a competitor, a supplier, a young cashier on her first day. You never assume you've fully figured it all out, because the day you think you have is the day those who haven't figured it out start catching up. You think about all the people you've met along the way. The farmers in Oklahoma who taught you what it means to work when it's not an option. The customers in Newport who have been loyal for 5 years and deserve better. Your associates went to those un-air-conditioned stores during those Arkansas summers because they believed in what you were building. The towns, hundreds of towns, where people told you afterward that Walmart had made their lives a little easier, that they could buy things they couldn't before, that they no longer had to drive an hour. The final part, that's the part you think about most. Not the Forbes list, not the IPO, not the distribution centers or the satellite system, or eventually you becoming one of the richest people in the world. What you think about is the customer in Bentonville in 1950 who walked into your five and dime store, found what she needed at an affordable price, and walked out feeling a little more relieved.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey. This story may have come to an end, but the journey of extraordinary people never truly stops. There are still countless lessons, decisions, and moments that changed history waiting to be discovered. The next chapter may arrive sooner than most people expect. If you enjoy exploring the mindset, habits, and secrets behind the world's greatest achievers, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's a simple action, but it helps us continue creating inspiring stories for people who are always striving to achieve more in life. And who knows, in the next episode, you may wake up in the life of another legend. We'll see you in the next journey.